SMQBs, this is episode 142, I think, right?
Yeah.
142?
You know it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome
Happy
back.
Thanksgiving.
Welcome, guys.
Yeah, and
Well,
welcome
looks
back.
refreshed.
We finally have a full
Yeah,
slew of
we got a
SMQBs here.
full team here.
Right,
All right. Hey, Milk,
Big day.
why don't you give us your number of the day?
One. That is how many coaches since the 1970 merger that have gone back to back fired from a team. Frank Reich accomplished that feat today.
Did not know that. That's great.
Wow. House, what do
Fired
you got?
from the Colts, fired from the Jaguars.
I mean, back-to-back seasons.
Back-to-back seasons.
Wow.
We called it last Monday, baby.
You did.
House, give us your number.
My number is 2.5, which is the number of points the 49ers are favored by at the 10-1 Eagles this Sunday.
Only two.
Wow.
Only 2.5.
Only
Was 3 earlier in the day.
Yeah.
It's going down. Pope, give us your number.
31. That's the number of yards that Alabama had 4th and goal from their 31 when the miracle play at the Iron Bowl occurred. We'll talk about that later. Roll Tide.
Rooster, give us a number.
70 and 80.
There we go.
It's how old each of my Achilles feel. But also, 70 points is what the Broncos gave up to the Miami Dolphins in week 3. And in the past 5 games against Green Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo, Minnesota, and Cleveland combined, they've only given up 80 points.
Oh, that's
wow.
Their defense has come alive, baby.
That's a good one.
Great stat.
All right.
Nice.
And mine is 96. That's the number of days until the next F1 race.
Bahrain.
Got to root for something.
March 2nd.
Is that
right,
the beginning of the next season already?
Yeah, 96 days.
90 days.
Start
That's
testing
crazy.
in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's get into it. NFL week. What was this? Week 12?
12.
Week 12 in the books.
Yeah.
The end of the season can't get here soon enough for some of us, but we'll keep talking about the games that matter. House, take us on our journey through week 12.
I just want to get straight to Milk. I just want to get straight to him. I just want to
Let's
grab
do
the
it.
bull by the horns.
Wow. Let's go.
And I just want to have you start ripping on the Eagles so we can just get it out of the way. Because I've had enough of your kind. I sat next to, there was a Patrick Michler sitting 4 seats to my right wearing Bill's Zubaz pants and
a collared shirt on?
shooting off at the mouth.
My God. The guy just gets back from a vacation and he's fucking over the top.
I could not.
What did you have to be happy for a full week while you were in Europe, and now you're back and you're like getting it out of your system? Like,
Get it out. Get it out.
There's too much serenity in my life. I need to go back to an Eagles game and take it all out on Milk.
I need to create drama where none exists.
Why can't these people just let me enjoy a game in peace? I wanted to come back from vacation and just enjoy an ordinary game. Instead, I had 3 convent Bills sisters sitting behind me who this one lady kept going, Buffalo, and get in overtime, finally turned her around and said, shut the fuck up.
Whoa.
Sister.
Wow.
To a nun?
Well, they weren't really nuns. But you guys, regular season doesn't matter. We all know if you're not first, you're last. What the Eagles are doing right now is beyond impressive. They have, according to ESPN analytics, the hardest 6-game streak in NFL history.
Coming up, you mean?
Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks. They're 3-0 in the first 3 out of 6 games. and in those 3 games, they're 10 for 10 in the red zone. They, in the last 4 games, have been behind by 10 points in every game and won all of them. Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback to win 14 straight games against teams with a winning record since at least 1950. And the Eagles' record against 500-plus teams is 5-0, and the rest of the NFC East combined is 0-14. So
well,
it's not just the past 3 games plus the next 3. You've got, for the next 6 games, you've got San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle, which is now falling apart. Giants, Cardinals, Giants. The worst case scenario
You're almost
for the
done
Eagles
with your gauntlet.
is 14-3 this year, I think.
That's worst case scenario.
That's worst case. That's assuming San Francisco and Dallas.
But wait a minute, we have to
split
clear
with you,
one
but
thing
I
up.
don't even think that's going to happen.
Dallas is trash. Please don't put them in there as a good team. Okay, let's just not.
Well,
I'm not.
That's why I'm saying worst
It's
case
fair.
scenario is
They haven't
14-3.
beaten a team
They could
over
they
500
could be
this year.
Yeah, they could be a 1-loss team at the end of this year.
the Eagles could be 14-3 and playing a wild card game.
No.
Why?
You're gonna win all the tie breaks.
Well, wait a second. What if Dallas wins out, including beating the Eagles?
You're still gonna win the tie breaks.
Why?
In the conference, you have a better conference. You have a better
Well,
conference.
only the 1 seed has the bye, right? Isn't that where we are now?
Yes.
Yeah.
The 1 and 2 seed? No.
No, I think
one.
only the 1 seed gets a bye.
One. There's 7 teams. The number 1 seed, each conference gets the bye. That's why it's so important.
It's going to be exactly like last year. Dallas is going to be the 5 seed, go on the road to the shitty NFC South team and destroy
New
them.
Orleans or Atlanta, or who fucking cares?
Atlanta, whatever. Yeah.
Who did Dallas play last? Washington?
Yeah.
On Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got Seattle, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, Washington.
Yeah.
Dallas is not likely to win out.
No. No, they're likely to get the number 1 wild card, and they're likely to do what they did last year, win that game, and then go on the road, probably to Philly, and lose.
House, does it worry you that you're playing your best football now and that you've peaked too soon? That's got to be a concern in Philadelphia, right? In the back of everyone's head.
According to Rondé Barber, we're 10-1 and we haven't even come close to playing our best football yet. And I agree with him. We've not put 60 minutes together. He knows, right, Milk?
Well, look,
he knows.
Are you comfortable continuing to go on this? We're down by 10 in the 3rd and 4th quarter against good teams, and then just turn it on and win in the last couple minutes, which is what you've been doing. I mean, that's a dangerous way to continue.
I think
some could look at that and say that Philadelphia is eking by and that they are primed for an upset.
I look at it as it puts hair on your balls.
Yeah.
No question, but it's not a way to go through an NFL season.
I think games in the playoffs, many games in the playoffs are won in the 4th quarter in last-minute drives. And I think the Eagles are learning how to do that right now in a risk-free situation. Other than the risk of injury, if they had lost last night, they probably still had a good chance to win the NFC. Have the bye in the NFC. You don't want to put yourself in those situations. Nick Sirianni doesn't. Jalen Hurts is very upset how he played in the first half of the last few games. He knows he's got to figure that out. But I do think it does put hair on your balls. I do think they're going to be killed for.
But the law of averages, I mean, I think kind of what Pope's saying is the law of averages says you're not going to pull out. You're not going to keep pulling out those games. Right?
That's probably true on averages, except they've done it 4 weeks in a row.
Well, the Vikings did. You're right. The Vikings did, and everybody kept saying they were a fraud.
They lost,
and they got exposed as soon as they got to the playoffs. Now, I'm not putting the Eagles in that category.
No.
But I'm just saying, I think there is something to be said that it's sometimes that it's great to be able to come back, but you only have so many comebacks in you, right? I mean,
I'll tell you what's killing me about this whole thing is the Giants were primed, as you know, to pick Devontae Smith and, watched helplessly while that got swiped away from them by the Eagles and then fucked up the rest of that draft. He is turning into a goddamn killer, that guy. He's such a mild-mannered person. He is turning into a killer. He every time the chips are down, he just calmly makes a great catch for a first down. Between Jalen Hurts and him, and now you throw in Jake Elliott. My God.
Yeah,
it's
Jake Elliott's
scary.
I had no doubt that kick was going in, and I was going to text it, and I knew that I would get fucking screamed at by Toby for jinxing the team then if he didn't. So I actually didn't put it in text, but there was no way he was missing that kick. I mean, I think he's better than Tucker at this point. He's the most reliable, best kicker in the NFL, I think.
Well, you could argue that the Bills kicker has more talent than Jake Elliott, but you put that guy in the same situation and you think he's going to miss it.
You mean the Ravens kicker, Tucker?
No, the Bills kicker. They have a talented kicker who just doesn't hit he just doesn't have ice in his veins like Jake Elliott does. I think he's got more leg strength and ability, but I would take Jake Elliott over him in every big situation.
So on 58 plus yard field goals, Jake Elliott is 4 for 4 in his career, 100%, and Justin Tucker is 3 for 13.
Justin Tucker's seems to be declining before our very eyes this year.
Yeah.
Well, look, House, I thought that was game of the year so far.
But I agree. I do agree. I think Jake Elliott is your best player. I do think that's. I agree with you on that, House. Jake Elliott is the best player.
All right. Well, listen, you guys probably want to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Milk, you want to talk about?
Not really.
Colts?
Oh, no.
The Colts?
I never want to talk about that team again. I was really excited that the Trask era was starting, and then Baker came in.
Baker's not your problem.
Can I go back to something about the Eagles? Did you know what is absolutely fucking amazing to me? And I saw it yesterday firsthand.
The Eagles.
The Eagles, besides the Eagles. So I watched the Bucs game at 1:00, and I saw a team get down to the 1 yard line, first and goal from the 1, and not score a point. Or excuse me.
Yeah.
Score a field goal.
Your field goal.
Which is literally almost impossible to do. But the Eagles, the reason that the Eagles will keep winning, and I think can come back from behind, is you literally score every time you're in the red zone. I don't know what stat you gave earlier, but
10 out of 10.
It's a fucking touchdown like every time.
All you have to do is get the ball to about the 3 on third down, and then you just two plays.
Well, when not only that, but if Jalen Hurts drops back in the pocket and gets ahead of steam and is running towards the goal line, other than maybe some defensive tackles, he can run over just about everyone on the opposing defense.
Well, the other thing, talk about whether or not the Eagles have played their best football yet. Jalen Hurts still was wearing the knee sleeve yesterday. He has not actually been unleashed yet, like for the running game. So he's not fully 100%, and they're winning games like this. In any case.
So have we tickled the Eagles' balls enough now that we can we stop with the?
I do.
Philadelphia against the world. I mean, like what else do we need to do? I mean, deep throat them or what?
I just want you to admit that if you had gone to that game and everybody was just serene and calm and were like, yeah, the Eagles are great, that probably would have pissed you off. I think you had more fun with those nuns irritating you than you would have.
You wanted to taunt the Bills Mafia.
The guy to my right, you remember when Bison said, I think he gave a punch to I thought.
Yes, he did.
A
specific guy in a specific seat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For selling the seats, for selling the seats to the opposing fans. That does bum me out. Like, I do want to enjoy it with Eagles fans around me. It is really annoying to turn behind me and see that the person sells the tickets every game.
Oh my God, go fuck yourself. I mean, seriously, you guys have like 3 fans from the other team there. Try coming to DC. It's 75% fans for the other team. Sorry, I'm sorry. I can't find my violin. It's so fucking small. I'm looking for the Eagles fans. It's all green there. It's all that disgusting Kelly green when you go up there. It's literally the thing I admire most about the Eagles. Oh, there I said it. I admire something about them, but they packed that place. So you had the one Buffalo fan in the whole place near you.
All right, Milk.
It's annoying as shit. And by the way, is it the same person that you sent us the picture of the Dallas Cowboy fan? Is this the same guy selling his ticket?
Yes.
That
does suck.
That's annoying as shit.
Let me ask you this.
We had the Dallas serial killer in one seat, and the next time you had a Buffalo.
The guy that got out of prison the week before.
Yeah, the convicts dressed as nuns. The next game.
Are there any teams that matter in the NFL other than the Eagles? I'm just checking.
I promised my associate we would talk about the Steelers. I told them they were on the agenda.
Well, I want to talk about the Steelers. We can go there now because I want to talk about the Steelers and the Lions with you guys. But let's start with the Steelers. Are they okay now with the new offensive coordinator?
They must be.
Hey, Najee Harris got finally unleashed.
Coaching matters. That's what I take away from that game. 421 total yards after a 3/4 of a season of drudgery, where Najee Harris would get a straight handoff and run into a stone wall most of the game.
Okay, but they scored 16 points.
Yeah, I know, but their quarterback threw for 278 yards and they gained 421 yards. It's a good step in the right direction. And now they need to score in the red zone. But I mean, shit, they've got this guy Pat Freiermuth. I can never pronounce his name. They never even used him until that last game. Now all of a sudden they're throwing passes to him in the middle of the field and the whole field's opening up.
They never used him while he was on my fantasy team.
Yeah, speaking of fantasy, can you ask your associate why they won't pass to George Pickens?
They did last year. I don't know. But of course, my associate all year has been saying Matt Canada must die. So this is the post-Matt Canada era. I think they're going to continue to impress.
Hey, from a fantasy perspective, I like it. We're Najee.
Oh, I bet you do, Bijan Robinson.
So
yeah, right. What a fucking joke of a trade that was, huh?
Yeah,
the middle of the night.
Bruce,
Dude, that was the middle of the night.
Head-to-head playing the last game of the season. Just I know that's not the actual schedule, but the last game of the season. Let's say it's all the marbles for the AFC North. Who is it between the Steelers and the Ravens?
Ravens.
I would say the Ravens. I would say there should be the Ravens, not even close, but the Steelers have a way of pulling that stuff out, don't they?
They do. Tomlin.
I don't know what more you can say about Tomlin.
Doesn't matter. They just keep hanging in there long enough to get into the playoffs, and then their defense. And if this offense continues to improve, I wouldn't bet against them against the Ravens. The Ravens, you never know what you're getting from week to week.
The Ravens seem really fast.
The Ravens, yeah. I think the Ravens have a good chance to get the number 1 seed now.
Yeah.
I'll take the Ravens defense against Kenny Pickett.
The second
by the way, we hit the nail on the head with Zay Flowers this offseason.
Yeah.
He's turned out to be the real deal.
I thought the second most entertaining game besides the Eagles-Bills, of all things, you would have never, ever guessed this, was the Jaguars-Texans.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good game.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It was a great game.
Those are two very good teams.
Stroud's the real deal.
Yeah, he really is.
He's as composed as a veteran quarterback already.
They're hovering in the wild card still, and I think they will the whole way.
I know that Trevor Lawrence obviously was the first pick. All right, Calvin Ridley, Etienne. It's not like they're not oozing talent. I think Peterson's a really good coach, and as a team, they're a very, very impressive football team. Very impressive football team. They could also, if the Chiefs are dealing with injuries, if the Dolphins don't get it together and they're dealing with injuries, I think the Jaguars could still surprise this year. I really do.
Well, and even though
they're too
nobody's a
inconsistent.
superstar, if you've got Ridley throwing Kirk and Engram, at least you've got some fast guys who are getting open. Unlike what the Chiefs have, their guys can't get open, and when they get open, they can't catch the ball.
So we've talked a little bit about C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence there, and I got a question: where are we on Justin Herbert at this point? He doesn't seem to deliver.
He might as well have Matt Canada as his head coach.
Well, I mean, his record is 500. So, are you willing to call him just a guy?
I would take him on my team every day with a good coach.
I don't know. I think he's got pure quarterback talent. I'm not sure his decisions are all between the ears are there, and he throws a lot of bad picks that aren't dialed up by coaching.
I'm like you guys are talking about Dak. Just a guy.
Yeah, I'm not sold either. I mean, I want to like him. I want to think he's great. I mean, I saw him play, in person and just thought he was so smooth and big and just has a cannon. But it seems like every chance he has to come down and win a game, they don't get it done.
Look,
I agree about the coach, but
who the hell did they play this yesterday? Was it the Raiders?
The Ravens. The Ravens.
Ravens. First series, he hits Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen fumbles the ball. Very next series, he hits Ekeler. Ekeler fumbles the ball and loses it. That's two. Now you're behind two whole series where you haven't had an opportunity. He's always trying to press because between his teammates and his shitty coaches, he's always playing from a hole. I just think if you give that guy the right surroundings, he's going to be a star.
You know who led the Chargers in rushing last night?
Probably Herbert.
Yeah.
They can't run the ball. They got a great running back, can't run the ball. They've had issues all year. Their O-line sucks. He doesn't have a lot of help.
Well, they spent more money than most teams on their defense, and their defense sucks.
I think we're going to come back to them in a minute, but one more team we got to talk about is Detroit, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's who crack in the armor or just one game aberration?
Was that so typical, by the way? Thanksgiving at Detroit.
Right. Detroit's supposed to lose on Thanksgiving.
And they lose the game.
Well, but so they're not a different team. They continue to do what they do.
On Thanksgiving.
I have no faith in them.
I have no faith in them that whatever crack is a huge bridge, whatever you want to call it, in the armor. They're pretenders. I declare them pretenders right now.
I disagree. Yeah. I think you guys sound like we all sounded after the Jags got their asses whipped by the 49ers, and we called them frauds and said they were nothing. And then the next game they came back and showed that they're still a very good team. The Lions will probably do that next week against the Saints. I think Goff has been in a 2-game funk. If he can get out of it, they're back to being a really good team.
Do you think the Packers are
Dallas? If Dallas has to go to Detroit in the playoffs, Pope, how are you feeling about that?
Good. I feel fine with that.
Dallas should whip them. They should whip them.
Really?
I don't think we'll get that opportunity.
Can I ask? I hate to talk about Dallas because I only want to talk about the Eagles, but why?
We know.
We know we're aware.
Did I mishear what Jerry said after that win? It was like
no. I was going to mention that.
What did he say?
He said that it was better than anything, including
better than all the Super Bowls, his happiest day in football ever. He was just so, he was in Dolly love. It was awful. It was so pathetic. He declared the greatest day for Dallas Cowboy football that he had been an owner. That game.
Why? Because of Dolly Parton?
Because Bland had his, pick six to set the NFL record. Because Dak is playing, the best ball he's been playing. They look like a juggernaut, and they had Dolly Parton in a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader outfit, and she was kissing Jerry's ass. That's why
they beat the Commanders with a JV defense and no defensive coach.
Exactly.
No, we had a
but to me that speaks volumes, though. I mean, my larger point, House, is it speaks volumes to Jerry Jones' mentality. Is he's for whatever reason he's content being who he is, how the Cowboys are. I know he talks about wanting to win Super Bowls, but no owner says what he did and really thinks that they're going to win a Super Bowl. Just doesn't.
I wouldn't
mentality.
Like a fan.
You think he's not? Do you think he may be just a tad demented?
You mean like demented or have dementia?
Both.
All the above.
I think he says some stuff.
He was swooning over Dolly. I mean, it was just awful.
Well,
I love Dolly.
Get sorted
it
out.
wasn't her fault. It was just Jerry.
Well,
Smitten.
House, you touched on it. We've had some firings now, and we've talked about it. The Commanders fired Jack Del Rio, their defensive coordinator. I guess Frank Reich was fired. What else are we looking at out there?
Raiders fired their guy,
Josh McDaniel. I don't know why that guy keeps getting shot, but what else are we looking at this point? Who's on the hot seat? And is anybody going to get canned before the season's over now?
I think the Chargers are going to fire Brandon Staley this week.
You think they are? Or you want them to?
You said that.
I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna see that the Panthers finally listened to the SMQBs, and they should too. I think that will happen.
Todd Bowles will get fired this year, but
I don't know.
They won't.
This is a pretty good time for Staley to be a coach. They're playing at the Patriots this week. Like I would say if they lose the Patriots, to fire him at the end of the game, but I think they're going to pace the Patriots.
The guy was hired as a supposed defensive guru, and their defense is so bad that they made Jordan Love look like the way I feel about Justin Herbert. He's not even good at what he's supposed to be good at.
Is Saleh safe in New York?
No.
He shouldn't be, but I think he's safe because I think that his owner, Woody Johnson, is behind all these stupid decisions that have put the Jets in a hole.
What about Todd Bowles?
He's gone.
He's gone, right?
This year?
No, at the end of the year. The Glazers never fire in season.
What about Ron Rivera? He's gone, right?
Gone.
Well, Ron's gone. I mean, they're not going to. I think Ron will stay this year through the season at this point. Interesting piece in the Washington Post about why they shouldn't. It was an opinion piece. I don't remember who wrote it, but why it would be unfair to Bieniemy to fire Ron and make Bieniemy an interim head coach. And it had all sorts of statistics in there about the number of interim black head coaches who have gotten, the interim tag and then immediately lose it and don't get the actual job.
There's been some talk about making Bieniemy being the de facto head coach and Rivera being the de facto defensive coordinator. Is that being talked about in DC at all?
Well, I mean, Rivera is going to be calling the plays now on defense moving forward since he fired Jack. But look, the reality is everybody in that organization, from the president of football operations down, is going to get fired at the end of the season. In fact, with our draft picks and our cap room, I can't believe I'm saying this, but with new ownership and the draft picks and cap space, they're saying it's actually the most sought after general manager position in the NFL that'll be available this year because they have ownership that seems legit. Dan Snyder's not there. We have $90 million in cap space, and we have 5 picks in the top 100. So they're saying it's actually going to be the most sought after job in the NFL. So,
well, for your sake, I hope it's not Belichick.
Yeah, me too. That would be terrible.
That would be awful.
That would be terrible.
Retread.
Does Dennis Allen get fired after this year? Saints coach.
Probably. I think
Not if they
Eberflus
win the
does.
division.
Yeah, it'll come down to
They're
winning.
going to win the division.
Well, I don't think they're going to win the division.
No, they're not going to win.
I think
The
Atlanta-
Who
Falcons
are the Falcons?
The
Yeah.
Falcons.
Yeah.
Falcons.
You know who
They're just
I'm
going
interested
to
to
run the
see-
ball over
They
all
all
this
suck.
weakness.
They all suck. What about Eberflus?
want-
Is he going to make it?
Eberflus is gone.
Wow,
How
that's a lot of
about
guys
Year
getting
or
canned.
after the year?
How about Brian Dable?
No, he's fine.
No, he's fine.
What about the guy in Buffalo?
He's McDermott.
McDermott.
No,
No?
He-
think so.
I don't
He
think
could-
they fire him.
Yeah.
You know who I'm
Say-
curious to see if he comes back or not is Pete Carroll. I wonder what he does.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's been around a while.
I
Yeah.
could see him retiring.
72,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think, like, for example, Vrabel is on a bad team with a bad record, but he's a good coach, and I don't
Very
think
good.
he's not on the hot seat.
No, he's not. Although I've heard the idea that New England trades for him to bring him into New England. What about there's another one I was going to ask about.
Sirianni.
Shit.
That's the only one I could.
Milk, you would do
No.
anything to have him be your coach of any of your shitty teams,
Wow.
including your hockey team. Let me ask this.
Oh, what about McCarthy?
What about McCarthy?
What if they lose the first
going
round
anywhere?
of
I
the
think if they lose
playoffs
out,
like they always do?
If they lose in the first round of the playoffs.
He's the perfect yes man. He's not.
if they lose in the first round, i.e., to really shitty Falcons or Saints or even Bucks, yeah, you're fired.
Yeah,
If
he'd
they
have to
go
at
on the
that
road
point.
and lose to Philadelphia in a close game, no, you're not fired. You're coming back, and same old, same old.
All right, let me ask this last thing.
Don't
on
lose.
NFL.
Don't lose to the Cardinals. That's what they should. That's the answer. Don't lose to the Cardinals.
We know that the Giants are bad at a lot of things, but could they be possibly worse at tanking? Like,
Oh,
God,
The
My
legend
God.
of DeVito grows.
God damn it!
I think it's really hard
Tommy
to tank
D.
in the NFL. I don't
I do too.
think you really tank. I mean, the game is so physical and personal and if you start tanking, you really just have to have such a loser mentality.
I think the Patriots were tanking.
yeah, you think that missed field goal was an accident?
No, and I think they were like, who's the worst quarterback on our team? Oh, let's start him, Mac Jones.
I mean,
But
you
if
can't
you're a
change
team,
the football that bad.
if you're a team like the Giants and you
Zappy?
put all these young, hungry guys in, like Jalen Hyatt, who hasn't gotten a lot of
Yeah.
time this year, they started him. He played great. They put in Tommy D, and he's like, of course he's going to play his ass off in front of his parents.
And kickers know that their job is like week to week as it is. They're not missing
Right.
field goals on purpose. They're trying to stay in the NFL.
It's too early to tank.
Yeah.
I mean, it might happen. Like, it's well known in Tampa that we tanked the second half of the last game of the year to get Jameis Winston. Like, we were winning the game and word came down to lose. But,
to lose.
that's the second
Just
half
lose,
of
baby.
the last game. Just lose, baby.
You play to win the game.
But not
Right?
this early. Not this early.
Yeah, but the
All
problem
right.
is,
We're not tanking. We're just losing because we suck.
I think I've gotten 3 in a row in the Plaxicos. Can we please talk
yes,
about
you
that?
have.
Can we please get
Yes,
there?
you have.
You've made a hell of a comeback.
Yes, that's
Tyson
right.
has won 3 in a row. House has won 3 in a row.
Damn it.
Speaking of
Damn.
streaks, Milk has lost 3 in a row.
Because he keeps putting me in a corner.
He must be from Tampa.
Milk, you don't have to be baited into picking the opposite of House every week.
I love it.
Yeah, so last week, House took the Colts minus 2.5 versus the Bucks. Colts won 27-20, covered with a win for House.
Candy for my baby.
Milk gets his dander up and says, "Oh, okay, I'll take the Bucks plus 2.5," and they got whooped by 7, so he lost his 3rd straight. Pope had the most heartbreaking loss of all. He correctly picks the Eagles, but the line was 3.5, and they won by 3.
Oh,
Takes a tough loss.
only they let them take the
on the
extra point
Locks.
in overtime.
Yeah, tough loss for
Oh.
Pope on the loss. Bison 3-win streak takes the Steelers -1 over the Bengals. They won by 6. And I took the Dolphins -7.5 over the hapless Jets, and they won 34-13. So again, we have lost track of the tally here. Who's in first? I have a feeling that it's House, then me, and Milk has fallen out of the lead with his 3-game losing streak.
We don't have the tally?
I don't know. We have to go back and
Can't
when
we
House was gone in his trial, we lost track.
House left, and everything.
we
went
get
to
like
hell.
I'm sure we can put it together.
We can put
Bison's-
it together. We just
Can
have
we
to.
get Bison's cousin to listen to all of them? Put
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cousin Justin can figure it out.
So week 13, let's talk Mr. 3-game win streak. House, who you have?
Speaking of the Titans and their good coach Vrabel, I think their record is worse than that team is. I think they're better than 4-7. They are home. They are also home dogs, getting 2.5 from the visiting Colts. The Colts. So I'm taking the Titans plus 2.5 at home.
All right.
Okay, and now
Interesting.
Bison.
He let the Bucks stay in peace.
Bison,
the
Are they on a
Bison's
bye?
Bison, you're the next guy with a 3-game win streak. Who are you picking?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my theory that Cincinnati is just cooked and can't compete. And I'm going to take Jacksonville giving 8 to Cincinnati.
All right.
Wow, that's a huge spread.
Yeah, it is.
All right,
would have
Pope,
thought
who do you
that?
have?
So I'm on the Steeler bandwagon. I got Steelers at home against the Cards, giving 5.5 according to my sheet. What do you guys have? Is that right?
5.5.
It was 5.5 earlier.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it changes.
still is. Yep.
Against the Cards,
Cards.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Milk, speaking of streaks, let's try to turn yours around. Who are you taking?
What's the line in the 49ers Eagles game? Actually, I don't need the line. I'll take the 49ers.
Good. Good.
Yes.
Their 49ers are given 2.5.
Good. Please.
Our favorite?
Wow. Wow.
Home
All right.
dog.
All right.
Too good
No
to be true.
respect. What the hell, House?
I am going to
Choose
I'm
one.
going to stick with the Dolphins and go Dolphins giving 9.5 to the Commanders.
On the road.
Ooh, I like that.
No, wait, no, I'm going to change that.
Oh God, of course.
I wouldn't.
I'm going to take the
Jesus.
Cowboys at home, giving 8 to the Seahawks, who are a broken mess.
You're on the
It's
Cowboys.
it's 8.5.
Spread.
It's
Big
8.5.
Tyreek.
Tyreek,
bandwagon.
I would not want to be playing Tyreek in fantasy this week. He could have 300 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Sure, it's 8. It's 8.5.
Lucky
All right,
me.
I'll take it.
All right, that's the NFL.
All right. Hey, Milk, we got to do a little college football, but between you and Pope, we got to do this quick here. We're
Start us off.
How
Let's go.
can you do
Dragon.
it quick?
come on,
Skip
get
the script.
to it.
All
Tear
right,
up the
well,
script and let's go.
I don't
Yep.
have a script other than the Iron Bowl. Great inning finish. I was with Papa Pope at the annual Iron Bowl Pope watching party, and I think I checked on him. I think he's okay, but what a heartbreaker for those poor Auburn fans. And I got to tell those Auburn co-eds, stop going to the game and crying when you lose, because you become a national meme. So just stop it. All right. That being said, Alabama should have been out of the college football playoff, but thanks to the Gravedigger miracle, they are playing Georgia with one loss. Georgia is undefeated. You got the one-loss teams. That's really where it's going to come down to. You got Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama. That's the way they're ranked in both polls. So you have to see what's going to happen in the championship games. Michigan, Iowa should not be close. Michigan beat Ohio State once again, 3 in a row. Ryan Day on the ropes. Washington, Oregon. Washington is actually a dog by 7.5 points against
Wow.
Oregon, and they're undefeated.
Wow.
So obviously the odds makers and everyone else likes Oregon. Then Louisville is playing Florida State without their quarterback, but Louisville just lost to Kentucky, so I don't know how much opposition they're going to provide. And then Texas plays a Oklahoma State team that just continues to win barely, and they're not that good, and Texas should win that game. So what you're looking at is potential chaos, and I'm just going to assume for the purpose of this conversation, Alabama beats Georgia. Otherwise, it's a boring conversation. If Alabama beats Georgia, you're going to have these teams with one loss: Georgia, Alabama. I think Oregon beats Washington. So Washington, Oregon, Ohio State, and then Texas, all with one loss. So I would put Michigan in the college football playoff, and then you got to figure out who the other three are. Does Florida State, even though they're undefeated without their star quarterback, do they get a slot when the eye test tells you that they're not one of the top 4 teams? I don't know. I think they're at the most risk of being an undefeated team. So look, I mean, what do you do? Alabama lost to Texas head-to-head. That still is going to haunt them going into the consideration. But if Alabama beats Georgia, they'll beat somebody who hadn't lost in 3 years. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What's going to happen?
I think if Bama, their worst nightmare scenario is Bama beating Georgia and Florida State beating Louisville. They need Florida State to lose to Louisville.
Yeah.
Because I think Georgia's in regardless.
What?
I don't think you knock out Georgia if they lose to Alabama.
They're in no matter what.
I haven't seen that at all.
You're going to knock Georgia out? I mean, maybe
knock Georgia out if they lose to Alabama. That's what I've been seeing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait a second, Pope. Some
No
between
way.
Washington.
I haven't seen.
Between Washington and
Why would
Oregon,
you're going to put Georgia in over Alabama after they just got beat by Alabama?
No, I'm saying Georgia and Bama could both get in.
Yeah.
And knock who out? What about Texas when they win? Texas beat Alabama.
That's going to be the debate is who goes in, Bama or Texas?
Well, then
do they go?
Well, then you got Michigan, who's going to be undefeated. They're in. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about Oregon Washington winner?
Michigan and the winner of Oregon and Washington are locked in. They're both in.
Yes. That's your top 4. And I'm saying that now you've got Florida State undefeated left out. You're going to put Florida State in above Georgia with one loss? Fuck no.
Well, that's what everything I've read says that's going to happen if Alabama wins.
Do you really think Alabama's going to win?
Of course I do.
What's the spread and how much money can I put on it?
What is the spread? I want to say is it
CBS has it as Georgia given 6.
Yeah, it was
CBS is always different.
Okay, well, look, anybody who wants to
we'll do that off. We're not allowed to bet on the pod, but yeah, we'll take care of that off pod.
Okay.
But yeah,
the reason they went to a live person committee was to get rid of these computer rankings that, doesn't factor in the reality. The reality is FSU has a backup quarterback who sucks. I mean, Florida should have beat them, except we beat ourselves. Their stupid fucking coach. But
here we go.
Georgia with
holding on to this.
No, I can't
Serenity
stand that guy.
Oregon has a loss, right? Oregon has
a loss.
Yeah, they lost to
Washington. All of those teams
field goal.
If you think Oregon and Florida State going head to head, I have Oregon winning that game by 2 touchdowns. I'm not being biased here.
Right.
Oregon is really fucking good. So,
well, Bo Nix
Louisville is not going to beat Florida State. They don't have the same.
No, I know, and that's going to be a shame that one of these teams who is clearly better than Florida State right now in their current form. I'm not saying when Jordan Travis was there, in their current form, and it's one of the rules, like the bylaws of this committee or whatever, that says you have to take in players' availability.
Yep. Who has Florida State beaten?
Nobody.
LSU.
They beat LSU. Okay, they beat LSU
first game of the year.
Week 1.
What's Clemson's record?
They have 4 losses. So who cares?
They should have lost to Clemson. Guy missed a 30-yard field goal.
I think that's just as damaging to Florida State as the quarterback situation.
Their schedule?
Yeah, they haven't played
schedule was
anybody.
atrocious. No.
Yeah, but that didn't keep Cincinnati out a few years ago.
Yeah, but that was exciting.
I don't know,
they got
Milk.
crushed.
I mean, obviously, I would love to see Georgia and Alabama in together if the Alabama won. I don't see Georgia getting in over some of these teams like Texas, Oregon, one-loss teams. What do you do with Ohio State? If Georgia and Ohio State have one loss, what do you do?
Ohio State's out in that scenario.
Yeah, because Michigan's getting in. I mean,
yeah,
and I think Georgia gets in over Oregon.
Ohio State's offense stops in the red zone.
Georgia gets in over Oregon on pure SEC bias.
I think because they're likely to give the Heisman to Bo Nix, I think they're going to want Bo Nix, the Heisman winner, playing in one of those 4 games. So if Oregon beats Washington, I think Oregon's going to be in it.
They're totally in if Washington loses, for sure.
Right. So if you put Oregon
Washington's done at that point.
So you put Oregon and Michigan in. If Oregon beats Washington, you got 2 slots left. And you're saying if Alabama beats Georgia, you got Alabama, Georgia, and Texas is going to be left out?
Maybe. I don't. That's tough. That's tough. How are they playing now? I mean, Texas is great.
Georgia's been the best team in the country the whole season, right?
Yeah, it's hard to if they slip up in a close 2 years, game.
Solid.
Undefeated last 2 years.
It's tough to take them out of the playoff if they slip up in a close game in the SEC championship game. They went undefeated the regular season.
If it's like a 27-24, type game and Alabama wins on a field goal or another.
All right, well let's ask the more realistic question. Okay. So, and this is the obvious. Oregon wins and Georgia wins, which is probably what's going to happen because Bama's not that good. So assuming that's what happens, then what do you have? You got Michigan, Georgia,
Oregon, and one slot.
Oregon, and Texas, right?
No. Well, then you probably have Florida State go in at 4 if they win.
Even over Texas.
Okay.
So you got Florida State going in over Texas. Because you don't have the Texas-Alabama issue if Alabama loses. So you can deny Texas with an undefeated Florida State.
Oof. That's tough.
That's tough.
It's tough, but the only reason I would have them if Bama beats Georgia, which is the number 1 team in the nation and who's not lost in 2 fucking years, that seems different to me. Then you knock out Florida State. Bama has to go. But if they lose and it's just like, here we are.
All right, so all these games are next weekend.
I agree with you on that, Milk.
All these games are this weekend, and the selection is Sunday.
And there is
real quick
one other game. Little SMQ.
It's too late for real quick on this discussion.
SMU and Tulane playing in the American Athletic Conference Championship for the first time since the death penalty. SMU's playing for a championship. Go Ponies!
I'll save Tulane to the buzzer beater.
New Year's 6 bowl game bid on the line.
Yeah.
Michigan's anything else in college?
The last thing that Michigan wants is for Georgia to lose because they go to number 1 and that guarantees them a first round matchup against an SEC team. They're going to play Georgia or Bama in the first round of playoff. That's the last thing they want to do.
That's a good point.
All right. Anything else? All right, look, we got to do a little Formula One here. I'll keep it real brief here. But I really hate to do this. We have to have a little Max and Red Bull appreciation moment, though. What an unbelievable season that Verstappen and the Red Bull team put together. These are some of the records that were broken by Max in 2023. First of all, we had 19 wins, highest percentage of wins in a season, most wins in a season, most points in a season, most consecutive wins, most podiums in a season, most laps led in a season, highest percentage of laps led in a season, most consecutive wins from pole, most wins from pole in a season, biggest points gap between first and second in standings, most consecutive races as championship leader, most consecutive points scored, most consecutive top twos, most hat tricks, most pit stops by the winning driver in one race, only driver to win 3 times in one country, and the only driver ever to lead 1,000 laps in a season. Complete and utter dominance. And if you appreciate, just a dominating performance and really true excellence in a sport, then despite the fact that Max is a little bit of a fucking prick, you really got to tip your hat to him and to the team for this season.
When I heard when I heard that in the off season, instead of just going relaxing, partying, skydiving, that he was going to another circuit to help develop young drivers so that they can, I think Max likes the persona of, like, I think some of it's shtick. Like when he's in the car and he's arguing with Red Bull, I think he knows, like, he's got a little bad boy reputation. But I think overall, the guy is, I think he's going to probably end up beating everything. I think he's going to beat Hamilton and Schumacher.
He's got a ways to go. And there's a lot of technology in between now and then.
So, House, what I hear you saying is that Pope has ordered his Red Bull hat.
You're assuming he doesn't already have one.
Yeah. All right. Well, just to close off on this. So, of course, Sergio came in second in the championship. And then Lewis, who had a bad year, came in third, followed by old man Fernando and Charles at fifth. And then as far as the teams go, you had Red Bull more than doubling up Mercedes in the points. Mercedes came in second by 3 points over Ferrari. And then probably the team that has the most to look forward to right now is McLaren, came in fourth. McLaren with 2 really young drivers. Oscar Piastri, who's a rookie this year, he came in 9th overall. And of course, Lando's a pretty good young driver. So interesting stuff. I really hate to say it, though. I think you're looking at the 24 season, and you have to assume that it's going to be a little bit more of the same at the top. I don't think there's any reason to think that Verstappen and Red Bull are going to come back to the pack, and it's going to be any more intriguing.
That's going to be bad for the brand. You saw what happened in Vegas. Yeah. People in Vegas were paying a ton for the hotels and everything else when it was first announced. And by the time the race came along, they were practically giving away the hotels because people weren't interested anymore.
They overpriced it.
But what I want to know is if Lewis really did place that call, as Christian Horner said to Red Bull, the managing director of Red Bull, Christian Horner, claims that Lewis made a phone call asking about whether or not Checo's seat was going to be available and Lewis could race with Red Bull. I find it highly doubtful, but I don't know why Horner would have said it.
Christian never said it was Lewis himself. He said it was his dad.
Still crazy.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
But is Checo guaranteed a Red Bull seat in 24? Have they said that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
That would be
look, the only response to that is, as far as Verstappen and Red Bull having first place locked up again. I think, like you see in soccer and European sports in general. I mean, I think there's more intrigue and interest in seeing how the rest of the field shakes out. Americans, we like to see the champion. We like competition for that. I think the European audience appreciates some of the down track stuff that still makes it interesting and exciting for them. They're okay, fighting for their team to come in fourth instead of sixth, and that's just not a very American trait. So
I think to even things up, they should make Red Bull take the Ferrari principle next year. and Carlos Sainz as engineer.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to punchable faces. House, I think you got one.
I do have one. I don't know if you guys saw in the Dolphins Jets game, the very talented defensive end for the Dolphins, Jalen Phillips, tore his Achilles. And he is one of endless roadkill at that stadium. And it's really affecting the product on the field. Sterling Shepard, Raheem Mostert, Nick Bosa, Aaron Rodgers. Something has got to be done about that Meadowlands field. And the fact that they replaced it, they had a chance this past offseason to replace it with actual turf. And instead they went again to a synthetic turf. And it's clearly a problem. And something's got to be done about it. And I think that whoever's in charge there, I don't know who's in charge of choosing that turf, but whoever that is deserves a punch in the face. Because for some of these guys, particularly Achilles injuries, as an edge rusher, I'm not sure that you ever fully come back from that. And it's just because of stubbornness to replace playing surface. And it's long overdue, but the SMQBs are finally going to take that stadium down. And when you hear them change the turf finally, it's going to be because of the SMQBs.
Why won't they change it? What is the reason? Is it money or?
I'm sure it's money.
The players have been complaining about the field and the facilities as long as I can remember. I mean, you could go back and listen to what Harry Carson used to say about that place. There's like a cancer cluster among players as well from playing in that shithole.
Jeez.
It's hard to believe that happens in the New York stadium for two New York teams. Hard to believe.
Yeah.
I got like a punch. FedEx Field.
Yeah, I got a punch I want to throw, speaking of FedEx Field. So, the Commanders got their asses. The Commanders got their asses whipped on Thanksgiving Day in Dallas. And there was a moment where Dallas got a touchdown and they had this whole plan to eat turkey legs on TV. And they all went in and they had turkey legs stashed away somewhere. And I don't want to punch Dallas for doing that. I want to punch the Commanders' defense and the players for not going over there and just absolutely starting a melee with the Cowboys.
Yes.
On a day where they did a Sean Taylor appreciation video. You think Sean Taylor would have put up with that shit for one moment? No. Nope. Dexter Manley, Charles Mann, name any of the great defensive players, Dave Butts. No way that the Cowboys get out of there without at least one ACL torn in that situation. And I'll tell you, it's pathetic. And so I'm punching the Commanders' defense. That right there tells you there's no pride in that defense to let Dallas do that.
You should punch the Commanders' defense for giving up 38 points.
Well, that too, but
otherwise they wouldn't have had the turkey legs.
Well, like I said, I'm not blaming Dallas. I mean, Dallas is, considering they haven't won shit in 40 years. It's kind of stupid, but
come on, this is the biggest day for Jerry Jones in football.
Right.
For him.
Anyway, that's my punch. The Commanders have a little pride, and don't let them show you up like that. Get over there and kick somebody's ass. That's my punch.
I agree with that. I was horrified.
Yeah, I do too.
It was awesome.
So, any other punches?
Yes.
Do we have a lasso?
I have what's going to be a controversial lasso at this point.
Oh, good.
Milk slap?
No. When a fifth round draft pick from Sacramento State steps in his second year and then leads the league in interceptions returned for touchdowns and sets a record, Deron Bland.
Oh my God.
I think you have, as much as we hate the cow pukes, you have to.
Oh, come on.
You have to root for this guy. He was a fifth round pick out of Sacramento State. He was sitting on the bench and Diggs gets hurt. He steps in. He's better than Diggs. They could do without Diggs and all of his head case problems and be just fine.
Good players are a lasso.
I like to root for unknown low draft picks who make it big It's a nice story. He has more picks for 6 in 1 year than Ronnie Lott had in his entire career. That you have to admit that's impressive.
House, don't worry. I'm not playing the Lasso clip.
Doesn't it need 3 votes for a Lasso?
You don't vote on
Listen,
Lassos.
I hate the Cowboys more than I hate any other football team. In fact, I really don't hate any football teams except the Cowboys. And it pains me to do this, but it's a nice young kid story. He's 24 years old.
That's what it's
You
all
need
about.
to give one to
It's a feel-good
DeVito, man.
story.
DeVito to Schmito.
Yeah, DeVito's a better Lasso than this douche.
It's because he's costing him draft picks.
DeVito's killing me in the draft.
Yeah. Any other Lassos? All right, who's got a buzzer beater?
I've got one. You know, when Shedeur Sanders missed the final game against Utah, everyone thought he had a hand injury. Turns out he has a fracture in his back
Bad.
that he's been playing through for a couple of games. Yeah, let's hope he's supposedly coming back to Colorado next year. Let's hope he's healthy.
Have you seen the recruiting situation there?
Yeah, not good.
Yeah,
not good.
People don't want to play there now.
Sanders may not make it through next year.
He might just leave after this year.
So I guess he's not going to be the Bama coach after all.
No.
That's apparently what Saban wants. So any buzzer beaters? Who's
my
got
buzzer beater, which we're going to post on our social media, the Premier League goal of the year was scored this weekend. If you've not seen the bicycle kick yet from Alejandro Garnacho.
Is he a teenager still?
He's 19 years old.
Yeah.
He's 19 years old, and this goal is bananas. It is just awesome. So that's part one. And part two is it's not a Lasso, but it is a buzzer beater. A team that was 2 years ago 2-12 is now playing for their second consecutive AAC title. And other than one loss to Ole Miss when Michael Pratt was injured in that game, Tulane could have had an undefeated season. And we'll see what happens against SMU. I think SMU's going to be weak playing without a quarterback.
Their starting quarterback is out, broken leg.
But yeah, it's a great story what they've done. That it'll be interesting to see where Willie Fritz coaches next year, because I don't think Tulane's going to be able to keep him. That's it.
Maybe he'll be in Gainesville.
Could be.
Well, or Duke, because Duke's looking for a coach because their guy's going. Mike Elko is going back to Texas A&M, which is they tried to hire Mark Stoops, and there was a revolt by the alumni and the fans, and so they basically rescinded his offer without it ever being disclosed, but everybody knew about it. And then Elko came in the next day. So still a mess down at A&M.
Another buzzer. The Raiders need to take the interim tag off of Antonio Pierce. He's a good head coach, and he's got that team going in the right direction.
Milk, you got a buzzer? Any other buzzer beaters? All right. Hey, good show, guys.
Roll wave.
Everybody have a good week.